Yes, welcome everyone to another video here by the Tokyo Real Estate Man. And we have an interesting headline here, a solitary trend in crowded Tokyo. So come over here to the Instagram. And again, I'm not going to forget to share my tab, but look at some pictures here of, I keep coming back to these Roppongi pictures. And let's imagine there's three girls right there. And everyone there has their own personal Instagram. I've got my own personal Instagram. My wife has her own. My daughter's got her own. My son has her own. She likely has her own. Tokyo Tower very likely has its own commercial one. All of these three girls here. There's some more, looks to be some more pole dancers. We're the only Tokyo real estate page that uses the stat of pole dancing. But we can see the trend in the greater global society, but we can also see the trend here. Like she likely has her own uh, solitary trend. Anyhow, we'll come back here to the title here of the other the page that we a solitary trend in crowded Tokyo, and here it says the number of Tokyo residents continues to increase despite Japan's entering overall population decline. So we know that on aggregate, the Japanese population, okay, is gone down 1 million over the last 10 years. And it says here 962,000, okay, compared to the census of 2010. I think this is an early 2020, sort of 2021 article. It's probably gone down even more since then. However, Tokyo's population, okay, as you see here, central Tokyo's 23 municipalities or the wards really saw an increase of 327,000. So over that period, you see that Japan is going down, but Tokyo, on the other hand, is going up. Okay, and what you're seeing though in inside that though is a trend. Okay, a trend of the number of households actually going up. So in actually some wards like Shibuya or Minato ward, the not Minato ward because I believe it's too expensive. Shibuya, for example, or Meguro, I think the percentage of single person households is over 60% right now. So uh, reflected here in the Instagram as well. Everyone has their, even if the space is what you got like five or six girls here, each of those have their own Instagram. This girl, she's got her own Instagram. Okay, so we have a sort of all these people here. These want to maybe these older people like me. Maybe some of them want that's the kanji for beautiful, by the way. B, you say B, or yeah, these two likely have their own Instagram. So we have, and all these girls here, they all likely have their own Instagram. So we see the greater trend of this sort of individualization happening anyway. Anyhow, let's come here, cut to the chase and get to some other interesting stuff here. This is a picture of, I believe, the Azabu Juban area. And look at the transition that's happened here to Tokyo. Originally coming out of World War II, this would have all been single family homes. But then slowly you see the densification of Tokyo. And then in over this period as well, you know that the number, so these sort of bigger, this looks to be a building or development built in that sort of maybe let's say 2015 sort of range, right? This didn't start at this. It might have been in just after the war, been a single family home made of wood, and then it was transitioned to a smaller, let's say a smaller apartment like the one I'm circling right now. And then after that, perhaps it moved. It stayed in this sort of position for 40 years and then redeveloped into what it is now. Okay. For example, this here looks to be a Lions Mansion, which was Lions Mansion in the 1970s and 80s were using sort of brown tile like this. In the 1990s, the Lions Mansion transitions to white tile. So this sort of building you can see here is smaller than this building right here. So you're seeing a trend of densification in terms of the number of floors. And you can see in this sort of area, the zoning in this area right here, this one particular area, doesn't seem to have stuff that's over maybe 6 stories. But here you see stuff that's about 15 stories. So there's so many trends in play here as well. So it's interesting though, there's a counter trend play you could look at right now is that the number of apartments in central Tokyo, Minato or Shibuya, okay, that are larger are becoming less, and those are gaining a larger price. So there's counter sort of movements within this as well. It's really interesting. But this should what it is at the total. Tokyo's crowded living conditions. Yeah, there we go. This is totally what it is. Okay, so this is an interesting graph. So you see, this is the population of sorry about that of Tokyo from 1950 to 2015, and you see here, this is Tokyo's central 23 wards. Again, all this data that we're looking at right now is averaged, and everything's coming out like in a flatter fashion than it does in sort of reality. This is a 23 ward aggregate, right? Which is totally different than this area right here. This is Azerbaijan, for example. I'm speculating. I think it is. Okay. Here is even more densification and more increase in population than you can see here. Anyhow, let's come back here and we'll look at the greater population trend of Tokyo. So you see that it went up from the 1950s, peaking in 1965. And then from 1965, this is West Tokyo in the lighter green on the top. It starts to decrease until about 1995. And then after that, okay, there's a turnaround. These sort of people are leaving. Let's just say that their Tokyo sort of population reaches its peak in 1965, right? And then it starts to decrease slowly. That means there's a leakage almost, or a leakage or a movement of people here, perhaps to West Tokyo or to Kanagawa, to Chiba or to Saitama, right? But then in 1995, this changes. And again, this is flattened data. If you look at the data, the central six wards after 1995 see a sharp increase in population. In fact, I think between 2000 and 2010, Tokyo's fastest growing wards were Minato Ward and Chiyoda Ward, which are the two central wards that have the best position real estate in the city. So again, this is flattened data. Now, the red line up here is the increase in the number of households over that period as well. Okay, so you see as well, you see the increase, in the expansion of floor space in densification that way, but you also see that the units are becoming smaller, which makes the interesting counter trend thing that I talked about, that there's actually a greater demand now for the bigger size units in these central wards as well. It's such a 3D game and play. So interesting. Okay. What else we have here? Oh yeah, this is like this is basically a graph looking at the total number of units in Tokyo, and you see that the units are increasing. This graph is from 1973 to basically 2020. So you see an increase in the unit number picking up. You see the population is increasing, but as the unit number, you see that the vacancy rate is going up. So Tokyo is staying ahead of its housing crisis. Okay, there's no housing crisis in Tokyo, and there still isn't right now. Okay, because the building is staying ahead of the population. Okay, right there, and it begins in about 1998. This vacancy rate starts to flatten out, and right now it's going down. So, but this really indicates how come Tokyo does not have a housing crisis, and that might be because the unit size is smaller. You could push back on me and say that you don't want to live in one of these, what are they called, like a 15-minute city kind of thing. You don't want that for yourself. I get it. That makes sense too. It could be a trend to this sort of, it's basically marking the trend of Tokyo coming to this smart city thing. And I understand the bullshit that you don't like about that. Or anyhow, Tokyo in some ways is turning into that 15-minute city in some ways, though, too. I get it. Okay. Now, this is the Tokyo resident. But however, that's just the environment that we're in right now. Okay, it's just the environment that we're in. And again, what do we do on this channel? We give you the red pill. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the stats the way it is. If you want to get ahead in Japan, you've got to understand these trends, and you've got to invest with the trends. Why you're like admit if you have a really good argument to go counter trend in some cases, where that is a profitable Airbnb in the countryside somewhere that you believe you can do, that's a really good argument for a counter trend. That's fine. But if you want to be a trend investor and follow the trend, you'll see that this picture right here is explaining it. The city of Tokyo is continuing to densify. And that's why my apartment in Akasaka is becoming so valuable because it's in the hyper middle of the 27 wards, in maybe the best address in the central 6 wards of Tokyo, and in a high rise tower mansion, which is the next stage here. And you don't see any really examples of it here in this picture. For example, when you go to cities like Hong Kong, you see the towers everywhere. Anyway, we'll keep coming down here to this last graph here. And this one last graph here is explaining, okay, uh, why or the expansion of floors. So in 1975, you see the supply of, like, these are the supply of 3 to 5 story buildings increasing right there. Here you see the demand for 6 to 10 story buildings here in 1975, where they were smaller, right? But then you can see the number of 6 to 7 or 6 to 10 floor buildings increasing, and this is and this is now above. I guess we'll say this. What does it say here? 11 floors or more, and this can you could start to say this is the trend now moving to really, really higher stuff. And there might now even be like the super trend of the sort of the one particular building that I'm involved with in Akasaka is a 50-story building, and that is a hyper supply. So that's even, I guess, I don't even think it's even in this classification, but that would be in the 11 floors or more classification. But you can see that Tokyo is densifying, while at the same time, as mentioned in this graph, with this red line going through it, the number of households is increasing. There was one particular sentence here I saw here that was really sort of pervasive. The average floor, yeah, this is really interesting here stuff too. Okay, so this is Tokyo, and then nation average or nation. This is the amount of floor space that people have in their household per unit, and in Tokyo, the average, and this might be the 23 ward Tokyo average, is a 65 meter or a 600 square foot or 700 square foot apartment, whereas the national average is 1,000 square foot or 92 meters. And Tokyo's ranking in 日本なんかプリフェクト何県ですか？ 48県ですか？ 49県ですか？ I think Tokyo, she doesn't know either. Okay. I think there's 47 or 48. Not 何県わかんない。47県? Okay, so Tokyo ranks the very last. 47県. So yeah, has 47. Tokyo has, we have the smallest space in Japan. This is one and the home ownership, this looks at home ownership as well. Home ownership rates in Tokyo are 45%, whereas the national average is 61%. I believe that Osaka is number two, but I think they have a 20 more meter sort of space than we do in Tokyo. So you see that in Tokyo, we have the smallest amount of space, probably because of the price, I guess, and the densification. But people still want to live in Tokyo, rightly or wrongly. This is what the trends are, and that's what we're here talking about. That's why uh, that this solitary trend in the crowded city is happening right there. Anyhow, this is another video here from the Tokyo real estate man. So many things to talk about, but the trend in Tokyo is densification. The trend in Japan, the population is going down. But the population of Tokyo is going up. The other things that we could talk about is that the data that we look at here is really smashed down. Like the 23 wards end up that the population is going up slowly in Tokyo, but I think the population in the inner 6 wards, for example, is spiking up even more, and that land is becoming more and more in demand. So my investment thesis is you want to be involved, okay, in the places, okay, which are, where is that one map? There's this one map of Tokyo right here in one of these here. I'm going to try to find it. Uh, yeah, right here. The closer you get here in the sort of the middle of these wards, the closer if you can get a cheaper place uh, in these sort of central wards where the land is considered more value, you will then have the highest sort of return, let's say, just in terms of the value of the land, the possibility of densification, so many things in play. but it's really it's in central Tokyo where the action is sort of happening right here because the averages are being smashed in this sort of 23 ward area, but the real action is happening here in the almost center 4 or 5 or 6 wards. Anyhow, another video here from the Tokyo real estate man. We'll end here on the Instagram with all sort of pictures here of central Tokyo and the trend. Again, this girl, she has her own Instagram. These girls have their own Instagram. The trend in Tokyo for that having your own individual life while living in the center. She has her own Instagram. She has she has her own Instagram, as do they as well. And you can see that's just the way the trend is going. Oh, that ramen. We could end on that ramen. Anyhow, another video here from the Tokyo real estate man. I guess I could end here on mine. She has her own Instagram for sure. Okay, I think that is actually Anton's girlfriend. Again, if you have any questions, you can always come here to my Instagram, the Tokyo real estate man right there. I've got to update myself with some more pictures as well. Failing that, you can always come here to my website, Tokyo Real Estate Man dot website. There's a contact box. As I always say, I'm not convinced it's working. You can always give me a mail here at my individual email, which is addressed here above. Thank you for taking the time to follow this channel, making some really fun videos lately that I immensely enjoy. いつもこのチャンネルを応援するこのチャンネル、フォローするのものはいつも本当にありがとう。プラスマークにして、マイナスマークにしたら問題ない。ポジティブコメントでも、マイナスコメントでも、いつもコメントありがとうございます。この動画で、ここでもう終わりです。ありがとうございます。失礼します。